With 2 episodes already in the can and a full cast list announced, you would think we would know a little bit more about the plot for Star Trek Discovery. However, the cloaking field around the show is very strong, so fans have been left with only little tidbits from which to build their theories, but that hasn't stopped us theorizing away. Welcome to the Final Frontier. Today we'll look at the top 5 plot theories for Star Trek Discovery. There was certainly a lot of, shall we call it, debate about the looks of the USS Discovery. DSC is set about 10 years before Kirk's adventures on the USS Enterprise, i.e. 2255, so it's certainly a departure to what we've seen of starships around this period. With the caveat that the design we have seen so far was a work in progress, we believe that there is a rationale for how it looks, and there is one theory that has been doing the rounds for what this rationale may be. We know there is a second ship that has a prominent role on DSC, the USS Shenzhou, but what if the Shenzhou and the USS Discovery are one and the same? In particular, the rumour goes that the Shenzhou, which is believed to be of a more typical Federation design, is badly damaged in the first episode and almost beyond repair, but is repaired and refitted to become the USS Discovery. So what evidence supports this theory? Well, not very much really, although it could explain why the Discovery has apparently been constructed in a dry dock inside what looks like an asteroid. Evidence against this theory includes the fact that 2 captains have been announced, and I don't think one will be killed off so quickly, as Michelle Yeoh and Jason Isaacs are very big names for one to be killed off so quickly in the show. In the original series episode, The Conscience of the King, Captain Kirk discovers that a travelling Shakespearean actor is actually Kodos the Executioner, responsible for the death of 4,000 humans on the Earth colony Tarsus 4 in 2246.
Jim, 4,000 people were butchered!
The other very interesting thing is the reason for these deaths. Kodos executed half the population because their food supply was attacked by an exotic fungus and largely destroyed.
According to our library banks, it started on the Earth colony of Tarsus 4 when the food supply was attacked by an exotic fungus and largely destroyed.
Now, who do we have on board the USS Discovery that might be interested in such things? Yep, Lieutenant Stamets, who is a science officer and coincidentally happens to be an astromycologist, a fungus expert, which is a very specific thing to announce about the character. Perhaps this is the showrunners giving us a clue? Well, the exact timing is a little bit off, as the event took place in 2246, which would be about 9 years before DSC is supposed to be set. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the after effects of the fungal plague feature in the series. Perhaps Stamets was one of the Federation officers sent to investigate the outbreak. There's no doubt that the USS Discovery is unlike any Starfleet vessel we have seen so far. Not only is its shape atypical, but its colouring is too. Moreover, the ship's maiden flight wasn't from your typical shipyard, but a dry dock built within an asteroid. These elements suggest the Discovery may be a specialist ship, perhaps even a prototype vessel. Maybe it has a secret mission, perhaps a unique peace effort during the Federation-Klingon Cold War. So, let's look at the evidence. A covert ops ship could explain the unique look of the ship and where it was constructed. The Federation-Klingon conflict would certainly be a scenario where a specialized ship could be needed, and we know that the Klingons feature prominently, at least in the first couple of episodes. There is what many have claimed to be the sound of a cloaking device at the end of the first DSC trailer. Listen carefully. The evidence against this is pretty strong though. Fuller specifically ruled out a show about Section 31, which is the clandestine Black Ops division of Starfleet. However, this wouldn't rule out a secret mission from Starfleet intelligence themselves. Also, it seems unlikely that a Starfleet Academy cadet would be on board a secret mission of high importance. The Donati system lies in a region disputed between the Federation and the Klingon Empire. It witnessed a skirmish during the Federation-Klingon Cold War referred to as the Battle of Donatu 5, the result of which was said to be inconclusive. Evidence for this theory is multiple. The timing of the battle perfectly fits the time frame for DSC. We know that Klingons feature prominently, at least in the first couple of episodes. Bryan Fuller also stated that DSC would be about an event in Star Trek history that had been referenced in the original series, but never seen. This would certainly fit that description, as the battle was mentioned by Spock at the beginning of the episode The Trouble with Tribbles.
Battle of Donatu 5 was fought near here 23 solar years ago. Inconclusive.
Evidence against this theory. Nothing that we know about Discovery would discount against this theory, so even if the battle happens not to be the focus, it is not improbable that we will hear it mentioned during the series, as it is one of the few skirmishes to happen during the Federation-Klingon Cold War. Why do we have a Star Trek show where the second in command is the main protagonist? And why would a lieutenant commander be a first officer in the first place? Is the reason why Bryan Fuller described the position as a lieutenant commander with caveats because of her prominent role in overthrowing the captain? Now, mutiny isn't something common in Starfleet history, but there is one very prominent case we know of that would fit the timeline of DSC. Yes, that is the highly decorated Federation officer Garth of Izar, hero of the Battle of Axanar. Unfortunately for Garth, a bad injury indirectly led to his mind being poisoned, and he ordered his crew to commit genocide against the Antos race, an order refused by his crew, hence the mutiny. So what evidence supports this theory? As stated, for the first time in Star Trek history, the main protagonist is not the captain. A lieutenant commander would not typically be second in command, unless of course he received a quick field promotion. Garth of Izar and the Battle of Axanar were mentioned in the TOS episode Whom Gods Destroy.
I studied your victory at Axanar when I was a cadet. In fact, it still required reading at the academy.
As well it should be.
Although never explicitly stated in canon, the Battle of Axanar is generally regarded as being won between the Federation fleet led by Garth and a Klingon invasion force, and the start of the conflict known as the 4 Years' War. The movie, Star Trek The Undiscovered Country, was mentioned as a touchstone for the series, and Nicholas Meyer, who co-wrote and directed the movie, is the chief writer in the DSC writing room. And Klingons will play a prominent role, particularly in the first 2 episodes. So, if it does happen, then expect the opening scene of the first episode to be set in space above Axanar. And talking of the Battle of Axanar, we all know how CBS came down like a ton of bricks on the Axanar fan film, so perhaps this is a huge part of the reason why CBS wanted to stop Axanar in its tracks, in particular to make sure it wasn't released prior to DSC airing. And evidence against this theory? Well, it's a big one. The Discovery actually does have a captain, and he isn't called Garth. Instead, Jason Isaacs will play the role of Captain Lorca of the Discovery. Now, it could be a big piece of misdirection, but perhaps Captain Lorca was originally a commander of the Discovery before he and Sonequa Martin Green's character, Michael Burnham, lead the mutiny in the first couple of episodes of the series. Alternatively, Captain Lorca could be sent by Starfleet to replace Garth post-mutiny. So, there we have it. These are the top 5 theories about what the plot for Star Trek Discovery may entail. Note that these theories are not mutually exclusive, so it could be that we witness the Battle of Axanar and also the Battle of Donatu 5 as the series continues. And just one note, I know the skirmish between the Sheliak Corporate and the Federation occurred during the time frame for DSC. However, I've discounted this theory as it was not specifically mentioned in TOS, but rather mentioned in The Next Generation, and I believe Fuller was specifically referring to an event mentioned in the original series. So, please vote for your favourite theory in the poll coming up now, and you can see what your fellow fans are most interested in too. Are there any other theories that you feel I've missed out? Please let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and make sure you click the notification bell. You can follow me on Twitter and Facebook too for interim updates. Until next time, live long and prosper.